research done here at the Wave Lab directly informs evacuation maps and planning decisions. How does that scientific data actually make its way into the hands of local emergency managers and city planners?
It does. What we do is talk to the stakeholders in the coast, in the state, and show them what we are doing and what their needs are, so we can better improve our models, our research. So it's basically a feedback between decision makers and the lab. So we can do what they need to be done, and then we can provide them products that they can use directly into the decision making. So in summary, it's basically they are our clients. So we try to provide our clients with the best tools so they can improve the community's lives and save lives at the end.
Great. We've heard about the physical risks, wave height, speed. How do those findings translate into real-life policies that help protect people and property?
Basically, what we try to do is to see if all these metrics, physical characteristics, are informing building codes, for example. If we can tell decision makers, look, the tsunami height is going to be this, so you have to build houses higher than this height, for example, or you have to build buildings that are stronger so they can resist the force of a tsunami, or if the tsunami is too big, you need to move this community out of this area. So that's how these translate into policies that actually communities can take action and protect themselves against tsunamis. There are a couple of projects funded by NSF and other sources that are improving our ways of understanding how tsunamis behave in the Pacific Northwest. But not only in the modeling side, of course, we are improving our models. We are doing every time better and more complex and more realistic models, but also we are approaching better our community. So we really understand what they need, and they really understand what we are trying to do, and we are saying and what we want to communicate in terms of risk. So I think we are in Oregon State University and other universities that are working with us, improving our general understanding of tsunami risk in the Pacific Northwest.
So how do you help inform communities and the public about this?
We try to do something that is called a community science, and it's basically understanding how they understand risk, what are their ideas about tsunami risk, and then share our understanding of the hazard, on the risk, on the vulnerability, and then try to create a homogeneous language in which we can communicate it in two ways. So we can, again, improve our disaster risk measurements that we are going to apply in the future, so we can protect the communities, but the communities know what they are actually facing, and they know what they have to do, and our work is not only scientific or just like very technical, but also applicable to local communities. So we do this through meetings with them. We try to find focal groups so we can focus our language to these groups. For example, we have Spanish-speaking communities, so we talk to them in Spanish. We talk to tribal communities, so we can talk to them in a way that is convenient for all of us, and so we can have a broader applicability of our work. I think a key part of tsunami risk is that it is so infrequent that we haven't felt a tsunami in the United States, like a big tsunami in our lifetimes. So the phenomenon itself is so large, it's huge, but at the same time is low frequency. So the last time we had a big tsunami in this area was in the 1700s. So it's been a long time, so it's very hard to tell people that you have actually tsunamis in this area. So that's a challenge, and I think what we need to understand is that these guys are are present, and these are big hazards that we are facing a huge risk, and that it's going to happen at some point. Maybe tomorrow, maybe in 30 years, maybe in 100 years, maybe in 400 years. We don't know, and nobody knows yet. So the best thing that we can do is be prepared. So we can assess the hazard, we can assess our vulnerability, reduce our vulnerability, mitigate the risks. So when the tsunami happens, we are prepared, and we can save lives, and we can protect our communities, we can protect our economy, so we can recover fast, we can get to the point that nothing happened and nobody died from a tsunami. So that's the idea, to be prepared and to be resilient against tsunamis.
How would you rate or describe Oregon's current preparedness?
I think Oregon has done a great job in terms of preparation, especially again because most of the communities haven't felt a tsunami. We have just seen tsunamis on TV, but we don't have a clear sense of how it is in reality. Based on that, I think Oregon in general has done a great job in communicating with communities, translating this technical scientific language into normal English and Spanish, so communities understand what is going on. And I think Oregon has also been investing not only on research but also in disaster risk reduction. But of course, nothing is enough because we don't know how big the tsunami is going to be. So we need to do more, and we always need to be prepared for the unexpected.
So if you were trying to communicate the need for disaster preparedness, the effects a large-scale natural disaster could have on the state to Central Oregonians, how would you communicate about a tsunami to them, you know?
Tsunamis are large events in general. So we have the direct consequences of a tsunami. You have the flooding, you have the erosion of the beaches, you have the destruction of the forests, you have the destruction of the buildings, bridges, everything. So at the same time you have the tsunami, you have an earthquake, right? So you have these two coupled, sometimes coupled, not always, but sometimes coupled phenomena. But besides these direct consequences, you also have indirect consequences, which are broad, and in general this creates an effect on the economy of the state. And this is very important for the people in Central Oregon to understand that if you have a tsunami, not only the coastal communities are going to be affected, but also the central communities, because the state has to recover and has to help these coastal communities to recover. So that means that investment, that means money. So if you have a tsunami, you have to use the state money to focus on these communities, and that means that the taxpayers are going to have to support these coastal communities. That means that when you have a tsunami, you have an impact on your general economy and the services that the state can provide to all the people. So not only the direct consequences, of course, for coastal communities are important, but also the indirect consequences. And just to mention the economy, but also you have electric power, you have connectivity issues, you have health issues. So you have a lot of consequences related to this big event that are going to affect somehow the communities in the mountain that are not going to be affected directly by a tsunami. I think a key point of tsunami risk is that tsunamis are the deadliest and most expensive events in the world. As the 2004 Indian tsunami showed us, with more than 200,000 people that passed away because of the tsunami. And the 2011 event in Japan cost more than $300 billion. Maybe I'm wrong in the specifics, but it was the most expensive disaster in the history of the humankind. So tsunamis in both cases are the again, the most expensive and the deadliest. So that means that these events are rare, but when they happen, they create a huge damage that sometimes the economy of a country can be destroyed completely depending on the country. So I think it is important for us as communities, as coastal communities, as decision makers, to realize that we in the Pacific Northwest have this risk in our coast, and it is important not to be scared, no, but to be prepared, to do everything every day, something to reduce the risk. We can prepare in our houses, we can be aware of the shake alert, we can prepare our evacuation bags, we can improve our houses, check if our houses are in risk, move our houses. There are so many things that we can do. So my invitation to the local community is to be interested in tsunami risk and to try to learn about that. And if you know something about tsunami risk, share that with your community. And if you have access to the decision makers, talk to the decision makers about tsunami risk. So in this way, everybody are responsible of reducing the risk, but also are contributing to reducing the tsunami risk in the Pacific Northwest.
Great. One more kind of question that I thought of as you were talking. Japan obviously has the more recent tsunami, and you were, there for research. How prepared was Japan when that tsunami hit compared to Oregon's preparedness now? I know it's different state and country and location, but if you could touch on how Japan was prepared.
That's a very interesting question, and the answer is very difficult. But Japan was the most prepared country in the world for tsunamis when the 2011 tsunami happened. And despite this preparation, they lost about 10,000 people, and the disaster was costly. There are a lot of analyses on what happened, numerical models that were not considering all the variables, so on, a lot of things, uncertainty. The problem is uncertainty. So I think Oregon and the Pacific Northwest, it is going in the same direction on reducing uncertainty. So what we do here in the lab with the folks from the University of Oregon, University of Washington, all the universities involved, what we are doing is trying to reduce that uncertainty to better understand how huge, how big is our risk, and to be prepared for that. So I think we cannot directly compare, but I think we are on the same way of as Japan, or of how to improve our understanding of the risk and try to be prepared for that. But again, we have to continue this work every day with all the people involved.